So I've decided that partly to help with my training and so that I can track progress, and partly so that I can show you how I am managing training little Wren in the real world. I'm going to make a little hashtag training in the real world and make training videos of Wren to track what I am doing with her, to help her be able to manage her level of arousal around things like rabbits and birds. So I started this morning. It's less than an ideal time because it's very warm in Scotland at the moment. Well, in my bit of Scotland, it's not warm in all of Scotland. It's warm where I am in Scotland, so we were out very early in the morning, which is not my preferred time to take her out because there are lots and lots of rabbits around, many more than there are if I take her out a little bit later on in the day. But we managed okay. So my aim was, where we were today, I have a particular spot where I like to go to train her, and my aim is always to be able to take her lead off. Now, as I've kind of labelled the video of her training, and as we approach our training area, what was happening was, you'll see that she was extremely excited, completely over threshold, in a state that everybody tells you not to train dogs. Anyway, that's the reality of the places I walk, is that routinely I will come across things that will make my dogs be in that state, and so part of what I'm training them to do always is to be able to manage themselves when they feel like that. So as we were walking up to the training area, there were rabbits scattering in front of us, and the scent of them was making her very excited. Earlier on, I will label it when I go through the videos, she did do a beautiful sit when she could actually see a rabbit. But for her, the smell of them is what really blows her mind. And as we walk, so where I'm doing the video, behind me is a whole lot of bramble bushes, and what the rabbits do is they go into the bushes where they're safe. Dogs can't get close to them when they're in the bushes because it's too dense, even if the dogs will go in. So dogs will sometimes, particularly smaller dogs, will sometimes go into the bramble bushes, and I have spoken to people who've told me they've waited for a very long time for their dogs to come out, and one man who went in eventually and cut himself to shreds getting his dog to come out of the bramble patch. But it's very safe for the rabbits because it would be hard for a dog to ever get close to a rabbit in there. So the rabbits go in, and they don't tend to go very far in because they know they're safe. So they'll often just go an inch or two into the bushes and just sit there. And so it's a good place for me to be training little Wren because it offers lots of opportunities to help her manage herself. So we go to this spot, and I see how she is on the day. Most days I can take her lead off and we can do a little bit of training. Sometimes we can do more moving around than we could do today. Today I felt as though if I moved I would lose her altogether. But sometimes we can do more moving around. Some days I go there and I don't take her lead off at all because I cannot get her to be engaged with me in any way. So I've added labels into the video of what I'm doing at each stage to help. And so my aim for Wren, where I would like to get to with her, and it's the kind of thing where I don't know how long it will take. I don't know if it will even be possible for her at any point. But what I would really like to be able to do is to walk her all the way around this field, which is full of rabbits, and have her be able to enjoy sniffing them, but not lose her mind so much that she loses her connection with me. I want her to be able to stay connected with me even when she's very excited. And what I would like to be able to do is do it as we walk all the way around that field. And like I say, so the exciting thing about dog training is that It's very difficult to know in advance how long it will take you to achieve a training goal, and even how close you'll get to your goals. So sometimes I know I've changed my goals before I've gotten to the end because it's been clear that I need to do something else. But for me, that's what makes dog training interesting. So dog training is a science, absolutely. I've got a BSc, which is a Bachelor of Science, an honours degree in canine behaviour and training, and I'm now doing a postgraduate MSc, Master of Science. So it is seen as a scientific, training is seen as scientific. But there's also a real art to it. The application of it in the real world is an art. And that's not dissimilar to other things. I also work as a computer programmer. I now work for myself, maintaining my own system for my business. But before that, I worked for other companies as a computer programmer. And it's a very hard science. It's all about numbers, all about true and false, yes and no. Computers only talk in ones and zeros, so everything is a black and white yes or no answer. Nevertheless, there's a real art to applying the science of computer programming as well. Knowing the theory is one thing, but being able to apply it and being able to solve the problems is another thing. There's a real art to it as well. So both areas are exactly the same. There's a real art to both computer programming and dog training, and with both, at the outset, it's always a little bit of a journey when you start to do something, and the end is never as clear as you would like it to be. So Ren and I, right now, she's 8 months old. She's in the middle of adolescence. She currently is not really able to control herself very well. And she also, it's easy for her to lose connection with me. And a big part of this is her age. So you'll see as we walk across the field and as we start to approach the training area, I'm not really asking her to do anything. She does stop and sit at one point. She sees a rabbit out in the open and she stops and sits, which is what I've been trying to teach her to do, and then she comes away from it to follow the scent. But other than, I don't really ask her to do anything. I'm not asking her to exert any self-control. I've got her on a line so that she can't disappear off, but I'm not asking her to do anything. And the reason that I'm not asking her for anything is because I want to get to my training area and I want to be able to take her lead off. So I don't want her to be exerting self-control by trying to walk nicely on a lead before we get there. Because self-control in dogs and people is finite. You don't have an unlimited amount of it. You can build it up in dogs and in people, but they do not have an infinite supply of self-control. So I don't want to waste what little self-control my puppy has by trying to get her to walk nicely on a lead before we get to where I want to train her. I want her self-control, what she's got of it, to be in full supply, or as in full supply as possible when we get to where we're going to train. So I'm using the line to manage her so that she can't run off and go into the bushes and get so over-aroused by the rabbits that she can't see me or hear me and start just doing circuits of the field, which is what lots of dogs do that go there. And a lot of dogs that I think are otherwise calm are very excited in that field. Certainly I saw a man, I say hello to him at one point in the video, and he was walking with a staffy, and his dog, as they passed me and they set off across the field, his dog went off with a great deal of excitement because there were a lot of rabbits around. So most dogs there are quite excited. Not all of them. I've met the odd dog in that field who, quite bizarrely to my mind, is not interested at all in the rabbits, but a lot of them A lot of them run and run and run when they're in there and go quite far away from their owners. It's reasonably safe. It's not fenced in. They could easily get out of it, but most of the time the dogs don't leave the field because the rabbits don't leave the field, and the rabbits don't leave the field because they've got safe places to hide in the field. So generally speaking, it's safe for the dogs and it's safe for the rabbits. Nothing's 100% safe, but it's a pretty good spot for people who take their dogs and just want to let them do whatever they want. It's a reasonably safe spot, as long as they are ignoring the other dogs, because sometimes there are some dogs that are walked in the field who are not very friendly with other dogs, so it's not a great one to go to let them play with each other. But a lot of people that take their dogs into that field, the dogs really are more interested in the rabbits than they are in meeting other dogs. It's not a field that I very often see dogs playing in, occasionally, but not all that often. Most people most of the dogs kind of ignore other dogs that go there, and most people, if their dog won't, most people either have the dog's got a good recall or they just keep them on a lead, because it's not the etiquette there. It's just not really that the dogs meet and play with each other. But it's perfect for my training purposes because there are a lot of rabbits. It's very exciting for a young dog, and so it gives me an opportunity to train her in the sort of environment where I would like her to be able to control herself. It's just that I do use quite a bit of management to make sure, to be as sure as I can that she doesn't unexpectedly chase a rabbit or go into the bushes and then get really overwhelmed with the scents and not be able to bring herself out of it and just be scampering around in the bushes for ages. So I will let you have a little look at this morning's training, and I'm going to try and share these regularly. I'm not going to promise every day like I did last year. I'm not planning to do a daily video again, but I will try and do them a few times a week so that you can see the sorts of things that I am doing and how those are those working, you know, are we progressing at all? I don't expect us actually to progress very much until little Wren is an adult dog, but are we at least managing to have some sort of connection in an exciting environment? Can she do some things, or is she getting more and more engaged with the rabbits and less engaged with me? That's what I really want to look at, is what impact are these training setups having on her? Mostly because the received wisdom in dog training is that what I'm doing should be a complete and utter disaster. What often people are advised to do is to do their training away from these sorts of distractions, and then very gradually introduce the distractions. I find it very difficult to gradually introduce distractions like wild rabbits without, you know, I don't know, I guess if I kept rabbits I could do that, but I don't do that. I'm having to do my training with wild rabbits. So I'm interested to see if this helps or hinders our progress. And I thought it would be nice to share the journey with all of you, because it could be that I tear this all up and go, that was a stupid thing to do. It didn't work at all. I need to do something else. Sometimes that happens. I once spent 18 months training Cullen a recall from a chase, because when he started going off hunting, I thought that what he was really interested in was chasing rabbit. I mean, he was very interested in rabbits, and I thought that what he really wanted to do was chase them. So I spent 18 months at one stage with a book training him this chase recall, which he got really good at. He absolutely got great at that with toys and all sorts of things. But in what I wanted to be able to do was what was similar with Wren. I wanted to be able to walk him around that field and not have him disappear. I wanted to be able to take him, and more importantly, rabbits weren't really that much of an issue. Deer were the bigger issue. I wanted to be able to take Cullen and walk him in the woods near me because I really like, I've got lots of beautiful forestry walks near me, and I couldn't go to them with Cullen because he was such a nightmare to have on a lead. And also, if he was off lead, the chances were he would disappear for hours. And so it was really the deer that I was interested in him developing some self-control around. I spent 18 months doing this training with him, and at the end of it, it was no better. He was no less likely to disappear on a walk than he had been at the start. And that was because he was more interested in the smell of the animal than in the actual animal. My training was all wrong. But I couldn't know that in advance. There was no way to know that in advance. Cullen was a collie cross. He was a dog. And in his youth, he looked lurchery. There was no reason to think at the start of that he was interested in doing anything other than chasing. Chasing was the obvious thing to think that he was interested in doing. So I did my training on that basis, and as we went along, I gradually, after about 18 months, I was really sure that chasing wasn't his primary interest, and in fact the smell was his primary interest. But I had to go through that process to find out. And I didn't really know what I was looking for. I was on a huge learning curve as well myself. I didn't really know what I was looking for back then. So I again, with Little Wren, what I'm doing now, I may well come away and go, "Oh, that was just a disaster, I need to do something else." But I can't know that now. So I am going to do my training, do the work. I'm going to do the work to the best of my ability. I will record it so that I can review my videos and see what progress I'm making, and I'll keep the videos so that I can look back at them, and I will share them on Facebook so that you can all see as well, and hopefully some of what I'm doing is beneficial to you. So onward with Little Wren and today's training session. So good to talk to you. Thanks for watching. You see it? Good girl. Hunting up this way. Good. Good, good, good. Good, good, good. Good girl. Yeah. Good girl. Good girl. Good so exciting! So exciting! Okay, good. Wow, sit. Sit. Wow! Sleep off your video. Off your video. Wow, thank you. Here you go. Good girl. Alright, here we go. Good girl. Good girl. Right, you ready? Can we do this? Can we hide your toys? It's too hot, really hot to run around, isn't it? Good. Let's do that again. Good girl, right, okay. Enough of that. Right. Sit. Wow! So clever! So clever! Wow! Wow! Let's make a pic of your video! Oh, your video! Good girl! Wow! Thank you! Right. Good girl. Dip a tea? A wee? Excited to do that one. Think of your own. A snake of your own. A snake of your own. Thank you. Thank you. Good. Right. Sit. Sit. Good girl. Good girl. Wow. Good girl. Thank you. Good. Right, I think it's probably time to go and get in the river now. We think it's time to go and get it. Good girl. Yay.